We'll do a take or two. We'll see what happens. Fuck. Who do I think? Hold on. Where is she? Lindsay. There it is. Happy New Year. Yeah. Courtney. That's what I got us ask. Yeah. Thanks, Courtney. Back to you, Courtney. Okay.
All right. It's D'Amico Ryans, right?
D'Amico Ryans, Shane Steichen. Yeah.
Are you saying like the winner of this is arguably should win Coach of the Year because
probably, yeah, because where both teams were last year, where they were expected to be this year, and then there's a damn good chance that not only does whoever wins this game make the playoffs, but there's a good chance that they could even win the division.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
So if the Colts win and Jacksonville wins, what happens?
Jacksonville wins the division. Colts solidify the 7th seed.
Okay.
If they win. Whoever wins this game is guaranteed at least the 7th seed.
Okay.
It's the only game where both teams playing this week. It's the only game this week where both teams playing is in a win and in, lose and out situation. Right?
Yep.
So, all right. We'll start at the 2-minute mark. Got 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Courtney. This upcoming weekend could be a huge match right here, obviously, with the Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. And really, this game could decide who's going to be Coach of the Year, right? I mean, depending upon how both these teams started off and where they were projected to be at the end of the year, whoever wins this game is going to end up being 10 wins on the season and a good chance that they could even win the division, but guaranteed making the playoffs. The team that loses most likely is out. What is your thoughts about this, Donald?
Oh, man, you hit the nail on the head. I think, both of these teams coming into the season from last year to where they are now is tremendous. It's remarkable. And, you have to reward, the leaders, so to speak, of the team, and Ryans and Steichen. And, whoever can turn the big turnaround is going to be the whoever's the candidate for Coach of the Year in our opinions, right? And so when you look at it, it's just like who was worse last year, who's going to probably possibly make the playoffs, and just the whole dynamic of the team. So it's amazing to see, and this is a big game.
Absolutely, and it kind of raises the question because D'Amico Ryans defensive coach, Shane Steichen offensive coach, right? So this is a huge for both sides of who you want to win, who you want to be your head coach. I think that's going to do it for us here at Believe in Colts. Thanks again. Back to you, Courtney. I did that dead on. I think that's good. I did stutter a little bit there. It was. I think it'll work. They want it to be less formal and more just us talking, but I want to be kind of professional in that situation.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's get this back up. Bam. So, do you have time to do 2 recordings? One review and one preview? Get them, just hammer them both out right now?
Yeah, let's do it. Well, I think it'll be like 30 minutes apiece.
Somewhere around there. Between 20 and 30.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
I got to break. So my girlfriend, real quick. So my girlfriend was complaining like we're heading back home New Year's Eve. Or not, it was New Year's now. She's like, started complaining that her stomach was hurting and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, well, like what's going on or whatever. And so like we get home and then she's like still complaining. She's like, something's not right. I'm like, oh. So she's like, I got to go to the hospital. I'm like, you hurting like that? Man, we were in the hospital all day yesterday. She has like a really bad UTI. So,
oh, that sucks.
Yeah. she's like in excruciating pain and going through all the stuff. So I got to bring her something to eat. She just went back to sleep. She was like, "Can you bring me some food when I wake up?" I'm like, oh, all right. So, yeah, so I got to bring her something to eat here later. But, yeah, we're good. Let's bang them out. I told her how to do this anyway, so.
Okay. Well, definitely let her know that hope she gets feeling better. I know that the whole my wife went through it when I first met her. It was so bad that like it locked her up to where she had to get a catheter and everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it was bad. It was bad for her. So
yeah,
hopefully she's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hammer this out. Let me get my ad up so I don't forget that. And 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'd say this is Victory Monday, but technically it's Victory Tuesday because we're recording on a Tuesday. We were a little busy on New Year's, but I appreciate each and every one of you that hangs out and waited for this specific show because, oh my goodness. All right, the Indianapolis Colts now, wow. All right, they win when it mattered, and that was exactly what they had to do against a very hot Las Vegas Raiders team who just blew the doors off of the Chargers a couple games before that, and then beat their division rivals, division leading Chiefs, the week prior to our game. Whereas we just came off a big loss, to the Falcons before coming into this. Donald, what was your reaction to this game? Just right off.
Just a response that the Colts knew what was at stake, and so you saw a different team out there than the previous week when they played Atlanta. So I was just happy to see that they came out focused and they had the right mindset.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel that way as well. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of the game, I just got to remind everybody that BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NFL, NBA, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the score, if you just look at the stats and the score, it to me is utterly misleading. Okay, if you look at the stats, the quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, had a heck of a day. He had like 300 yards passing and a couple touchdowns. Devontae Adams had a big day, was like 13 catches and 100 and some yards and a couple touchdowns and all of this. And their time of possession was way in their favor. But really, if you watch the game, there was not a single point in this game where I felt like the Colts were out of control of this game. It felt like they were in control of this game from start to finish, from the point that it began all the way to the end. And I think that is more of a thing to kind of look at, in my opinion, than just looking at your box scores.
Yeah, I mean, you excuse me, you can look at a box score all day, but if you didn't watch the game, you don't know what the flavor is or was. When you look at the box score, the Raiders made some chunk plays. They made plays. They moved the ball pretty consistently. But what the Colts didn't allow them to do was get momentum. And I think that was key with a team like the Raiders, who are playing off of momentum. They're playing off of turnovers. They're playing off of, getting ahead and, the other team, excuse me, shooting themselves in the foot. The Colts really didn't do that this game, right? They had a couple mishaps here and there, but that's going to be in any game. That's human nature. But for the most part, they didn't allow the Raiders to just come in and be opportunistic and capitalize off of big time mistakes, turnovers, you name it, penalties. And so they did a good job on that front. They really did a good job of not allowing a team, like I said, like this is a team that it's the NFL. Anybody can win any week. Like, let's just be clear. Like, the Panthers can mess around and beat somebody the last game of the season. It just might happen just because they got nothing to lose. But that's how the game goes, and that's how this league goes. And so when you can understand that that is a possibility of happening, and you go in the game with the right mindset, and you get all 53 guys to understand that and believe that and know that, you can kind of cut down on the mishaps. And so they did that, and they deserve to win.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to make clear, like, we was 3 quarters through this game, and the Colts defense had only allowed 3 points through 3 quarters. And then your boy, EJ, ran right into the punter. Yeah. Oh, my God, gave them new life, and they were able to get that 15 yards first down, allowed them to go in, make that score, right? And you're just like, oh, no, what are you doing, EJ? Come on. You can't. If he makes the block, that's not a penalty, right? And if that's the whole problem. He was way too high. He went towards from the knee to the groin area rather than knee to the foot area. That's where he was at when he got into there. And that kind of gave them a little bit of momentum at that point. But that's a thing that the Colts, you're used to seeing at least one of those plays every game by the Indianapolis Colts, whether it's offensively or defensively, where somebody makes a crucial mistake in the game and it gives that other team a little bit of life, right? And this is something that they have to clean this up right now. We got lucky. We had control of that game for the most part against the Raiders, but going into, the Texans this upcoming week, and then, if we do win that game, the playoffs, you can't have plays like that give momentum to the other team. Not a 7-point swing, just right there,
Yeah. So one thing that I've learned in playing in the postseason is the mistakes you make during the regular season cannot happen in the postseason, or you will be home. You just don't have next week. You do not have time to recover. That play could be the turning point of your season, and quite frankly, it could be end of some people's careers because they might not get a chance to play in the league again. So it's that much important. It's that much. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's just so important. The magnitude of each play, where you can't have bonehead mistakes, is crucial. Now, this is a playoff game. This went from being just a regular division game to end the season to being a playoff game. And Absolutely. So the Colts are going to have to not have those mistakes. They can't have turnovers, can't have sacks, can't have none of that stuff if they're going to win this game, because this is another team that's riding high right now, and they know what they're playing for, and the stakes are high. So, but to stay on what just happened this past weekend, the Colts really did a good job of cutting down on mistakes, but see, what happens is you can't have them in crucial moments. Mm-hmm. Like, if I have a false start in the middle of the second quarter on a drive, on first down, I would much rather have that than have it, fourth quarter with 3 seconds left and we have to score a touchdown. I'm on the 2-yard line and I false start. I can't recover from that, right? Like, that put us back 5 yards. That determined the whole game. We lose, blah blah blah. So it just these things are going to happen. We just have to be able to cut down on them as much as possible. And so that right there, when EJ ran into him, like, he's got good intentions. He wants to make a play. He wants to be a hero. But you got to be able to do it. If not, you can't make that mistake, right? And so that happened. That was, to me, I was like, oh crap, because I know how, like, it's just like if someone misses a field goal or extra point in the second quarter, and then they end up losing by 1 point. You see what I'm saying? Like, it came back to bite you in the end. So those kind of things that happen for the Colts, like, they have to cut down on those. And I think EJ was trying to make up for some missed tackles, throughout the course of the game. I read some stuff that he didn't have the best game. I didn't think he played terrible. I thought that one thing about EJ is EJ's young and EJ's aggressive. He wants to make plays, right? And so nobody's perfect. And he's going to keep getting better and learn from his mistakes. So he'll replace faster. He'll take better angles. Sometimes, like, why you love a player like EJ? Because it's all or nothing. And
Yeah.
you hope that you hope for the most part that it's more all than nothing, but you know that all is going to be everything that he's got. So that's why, like when that happened, I was like, dang, because I've actually met him a couple times and we chopped it up. And so like when you know somebody like on a like see him on a personal level, like you feel like you have a better connection with them. And so I know that he's not trying to go in there and mess up the game. He's trying to go in there and make a play. He's probably thinking in his head like, man, I got to make up for something. I missed this tackle, and then you get back there and it's like, you continue to compile onto your game.
So I got to say something about the defense, and I'm gonna focus a little bit on the secondary, which, quite frankly, with the guys we had out there, I was shocked at how good they played. All right, I mean, we did not have a single starter from the beginning of the year playing in this game, not a single one. Because remember, we had Darrell Baker Jr., Dallas Flowers, and Kenny Moore at corners. And then our safeties was Rodney Thomas, right? And Blackman. Well, Rodney Thomas was, inactive in this game. Blackman's on IR, Flowers on IR, Baker's hurt, and then, of course, Moore was hurt. So we had a bunch of mismatched guys. We had some rookies out there. We had some practice squad guys out there. And literally, 3.5 minutes left in this game. We're up 10 points, right? It's 13-23 with 3.5 minutes left in the game. And I was thinking of you this whole time because I was like, this is where you go prevent. This is where you go prevent. You just kick it off. They're going to get the ball at the 25. This is the point. He didn't go prevent the entire game, right? Gus Bradley with this team. They played zone, but they didn't play prevent, like that soft ass coverage.
Yeah, right.
Fans don't like. And yes, that allowed Aiden O'Connell and these receivers to just chunk 15, 20 yards and then get us touchdown. But it took literally almost every second off the clock before they finally scored that touchdown. That's game, right? Even if they got the onside kick, they were out of field goal range. They would have got the ball at like the 50. Yeah, I mean, there's no timeouts. The game was over basically at that point. And that was exactly the way Gus Bradley should have. And here's something else I want to say. Yes, Davante Adams had a good game. Kinda. 13 catches, 21 targets, 61% completion percentage. If you tell me that my defense is going to hold a youthful defense like that, holds a stud like Davante Adams to only 61% completion, on targets, I'll take that. 61, heck yeah. 70, 80, that's where he would normally want to be at, right? 61, that's pretty darn solid in my opinion. So, right up to that point, I thought the secondary did their job very, very well against all these guys because I really think the Raiders have a very talented wide receiving core in Hunter Renfrow and Jacoby Myers, the guy they got from New England this past offseason. And then, of course, Davante Adams. I thought this secondary played fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just a few weeks ago, they want Gus Bradley's head on the stake. Out in front of 56th Street, right? Like, but here's the deal, like that week, what people don't realize is like that week is filled with meetings. That week is filled with coaching. That week is filled with practices with building trust, building character, building confidence in your players. And so Gus and the whole defensive side of the ball, especially like the two defensive DB coaches, like I guarantee there's a lot of meetings with just them extra, right? Maybe Gus popped his head in there, talked to these guys, let them understand like, hey, Davante's going to get 100 yards receiving. We have to limit that. It's the same way when I talked about a few weeks ago, I talked about Steph Curry. He's going to get his 30. But he's guaranteed a 30. Like, if he can drop 26, I did my job because now someone else has to play, right? We looked at there was a huge fall off. It was like he had 120 something yards receiving. Next close person had like 50, right? So like there was like, okay, well, main focal point is Davante. Everyone else we should be able to match up with. and play ball with, right? So he's going to get his 100-something yards. He just can't take over the game. We got to make other guys play. And I think they did a really good job of, elevating guys to step up, play well, just be confident. Like, you're here, you're on the field for a reason. And so it didn't matter about the defensive scheme. They understood the defensive scheme going into the game. They knew how to play it. They practiced it for 3 days, right? It was the fact of, hey, like, we believe in you. This is why we're putting you guys out there. And then it comes down to the players amongst themselves in that DB room to trust and believe in each other and be a rock for each other. And so I thought those young guys did a really good job of that. And I think the coaching staff also did a really good job of, making sure that those guys understood exactly, what was at stake. So I was happy with their performance. Now, will it be every single week that we can go out there with that same crew and expect that kind of performance? I'm not going to say no, but it'll be tough, right? It'll be tough. Like, you get magical moments from players from time to time, but how consistent can they be? How fast can they grow up? How well can they play in a game like this upcoming week that's so crucial, with such young guys out there with inexperience?
Absolutely. And, I'm going to move over to the offense because we're well past halfway through this episode. We ain't said a thing about the offense yet. Look, Gardner Minshew played a pretty solid game. Another game over 110 quarter passer rating. That's pretty solid. You want to see something like that. But here's the thing, okay? And I want to mention this. In the past 5 games, Gardner Minshew has 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Okay? That's what you want to see from a guy walking into the play, walking at the end of the season with playoff aspirations, right? You want to see a guy who has 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, in a span of some games like that. And I really think that Gardner has done a very good job in the second half of the year of limiting his turnovers and putting the ball in places where the receivers can make plays. Now, does he still have questionable? I don't see that nearly as much. I don't see those WTF plays from Gardner Minshew that I was seeing at the beginning of the year where you're like, why are you stopping and looking behind you before you throw the football or take off and run with it? Or why are you throwing it into triple coverage? I don't understand this. And we're not seeing that. And I think a lot of that has to do with him starting to trust the guys around him finally, right? New team around him has taken him in the entire year. He's trusting his offensive line. He's trusting his receivers. And, it's allowing Gardner to play the game that he needs to play, not what he feels like he has to play, but what he needs to play in order to win.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You sign a deal in the offseason to come to Indianapolis to be the backup quarterback. They draft a quarterback with the 4th overall pick, so you're not the guy because they're going to tell you clearly why you're here at this point, And so you go into the season to be a mentor, to possibly be there, in emergency, service, to provide emergency service, and you're thrusted into starter for the rest of the season before the first quarter of the season is even over with. And so, you can try to get as many reps as you can live, in the preseason, but that's the preseason. Practice, training camp. Excuse me, God, can't even talk today. Training camp is another thing. It just takes live bullets. It takes you to be really out there for real to get comfortable. And then you had some offensive line injuries early on, so you didn't have the regular starters in there. The receiving core was, they've been pretty much, together all intact all year. You're missing your starting, running back. It just was a lot. It was a lot, man. And then he was trying to overperform and not play his game. It just took time. And luckily, he's starting to settle down. Like, listen, no one I have to get this out, right? Nobody ever said that Gardner Minshew was trash. Like, I've never said that's never come out of my mouth ever. I've never heard people. He just wasn't the starter long-term as a franchise guy for the other teams he played for. But when he played, there's a reason why they said Minshew Mania, because he came and no one knew who this kid was, and all of a sudden now he's got the stash and the dirty Sanchez, and people are rocking that, and going crazy down in Jacksonville and blah blah blah. So he can play football. He just got to play his football, right? Like, he's better than a lot of quarterbacks out there. Period. Now, is he top 5? No. In the league, no. But I mean, he's making a fair case for being in the top 15, the top 20 quarterback. He's there. He's, you know what I'm saying? He played that well this year to where Anthony comes back next year. We get that. But Gardner, if he's, I don't even know how long of his deal is, but if the Colts don't lock him up, he's going to go somewhere else and be a starter. So, this guy, man, this is all, adding to his resume, for this game here. He's got to show up and continue to play well and just continue to make good decisions. And you get into playoffs, you got to do the same thing. But, for him to come out and play as well as he has these past few weeks and go 7-2 for touchdown to interception ratio, I mean, that's pretty damn good in my opinion. I think Colts fans can be happy with that, right? So regardless of what the record reflects, regardless of, where you think the Colts should be at right now, at the end of the day, your quarterback's the leader of your team. We only go as far as really he can take us. There's everybody else that's just as important, but when you have to pinpoint, like, look at the team, who's their quarterback? Look at the team, who's their quarterback? It comes down to that, right? So he's going to have to just continue to play Gardner Minshew football for this next week. So hopefully there's another week after that.
Really? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's what we're all hoping for, right? Another thing that I like what I've been seeing from Gardner is when it's there, he does take those deep shots, which we weren't seeing earlier in the season. We weren't seeing him stretch the field and make the defense play the whole field rather than just, the first 15 yards from the line of scrimmage. So occasionally you'll see him see a guy downfield like Alec Pierce and hit him for a 50-pluser, and it's nice to see that. Something that has really been beneficial the previous game, this offensive line gave up 6 sacks to the Atlanta Falcons. We gave up 1 sack, and Max Crosby didn't have any sacks and only 1 quarterback hit, right? Because we got our starting right tackle back, and he wasn't 100%. He was beat up this game, beat up. Apparently after the game, on the way into the tunnel, get back to the locker room, he had to stop and lean up against the walls because he was in so much pain, after the game. So he wasn't fully back yet, but you could still, even with him not at 100% and fighting through pain, you could see the difference between Braden Smith and Blake Freeland when it comes to pass protection. It's just amazing. And, hats off to Braden Smith for gutting it out, going out there and showing the toughness that he has and putting it all out on the field for the team. And same with the rest of the offensive line, because they showed up today, or they showed up in that game, and they did an absolutely fantastic job, not only keeping Minshew clean for the most part, but actually opening up some holes in the run game for Trey Sermon and Jonathan Taylor to carry the rock.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you look at it, this is the game this is the performance they had to have. And so, when I texted you a few weeks ago, like, what are they doing with their sets and their hands and all that kind of stuff? You see, there's a huge drop off when you have, especially from offensive line play. And I can speak on this because I know, right? When you go from starter to second team, it's not even close. Like the drop off is there. The drop off is so substantial. Like, when you look at it from a standpoint of, like, whoever is on that's not starting that made the team on the offensive line, they can play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that they're not good enough to be a starter at one, right? So if you're not going to be a starter at one, you just have to be serviceable at the other positions that you can fill in for. And so that just shows you how much of a drop-off is about to happen when a guy goes in that, okay, yeah, he's not good enough to be the starter, but also he can play like guard and center, or he can play like both tackle spots, right? And he's serviceable, like he's going to give up a sack or he's going to get pressure. He just doesn't doesn't run block that well as our starter, but at the end of the day, he still is able to, play. So when you look at it from a standpoint of just having him back and what that did, how it impacted the game and kept, Gardner healthy and upright is humongous. And I feel him, man. Like I feel him. Like I know how hard it is to gut something out like that. The amount of pain that you go through that people don't even know about, they don't realize. This late in the season, like your body's been through 6 or 7 major car accidents when you compile all the hits and all that force. It's just incredible. So for him to get out there and gut that thing out and keep him clean against one of the better pass rushers in the league that has great get off and a motor, you got to take your hat off to him. And I think he knew he had to come back for this game. But he knew he wasn't 100. He knew he was going to be hurt. And he knew that this is the stuff. These are the storylines that people don't know about. This is the stuff that goes on during the week of guys really be hurting, like for real, like really be messed up, and just to get out there and gut it out on a Sunday for a performance, for a win, it's major. And so what he did this week, hats off to him. I'm glad you said something about it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you got to respect it at the end of the day because it's taxing on the body for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. The one thing that I hope doesn't happen is that this negatively affects his progress in getting healthy as the time goes on, because obviously the next game is just as big as the last game, right? This game here, it's win and in, and I'd like to see him be able to play, but at the same time, we need him as healthy as he possibly can so he can play at his best. But again, if you don't win, your season's over, so it won't matter. So I understand where he's coming from.
So he's going to be 100% of his 70% that he is.
Yeah,
right. Like that's what it's going to have to be, because this is a 1 week elimination playoff, race that we're in. And so, shoot, if I'm not 100%, I can give you this much, and if this is going to get us in the playoffs, then let's tape it back up and let's get back out to the following week. Hey, I got the rest of the off season to get better, and that's the mindset, especially as an offensive lineman. Like you got to drag us off the field. Like if we're not playing, it's because we're injured. We're not hurt. We're injured. Yeah. And so like his mindset is like I done seen guys freaking hell. I tore my bicep and stayed in the game. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I ain't coming out. I tore my Liz Frank ligament and stayed and finished out the game. It happened right before halftime my rookie year. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to, you see guys with braces on their arms and all this neck stuff and all that kind of stuff, because it's like the average person is packing it up. But we're like, hey, give me that shot. Let me rest during the week. Let me see if I can practice, but guarantee you on Sunday I'm going. And it's still going to hurt, but I'm still going to put it out there for my team. And so like stuff like that, man, when you see guys play through injuries and pain and all that, like I salute it, because I just know how hard that is to do. So, hats off to him, man. And I know Gardner's thankful. I know everyone in that organization is thankful for having him back for this game. And I can guarantee you this, like, if he didn't get a game ball, if he didn't get some type of, shout out in the team meeting because of it, like, this game could have been a lot different, because I was expecting Crosby to have the wreak havoc, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been doing. I mean, he's good for a sack, and he's good for some QB pressures and hits and hurries. So to not have any of that kind of stuff, transpire on Sunday was humongous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely was. And I think that's going to do it for our review of the game, though. Those of you who watch this on YouTube, please don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe. If you're not subscribed, and tag your notification bell so that you're notified next time we go live. And if you're listening to this on a audio podcast, please leave a review. It helps out a ton. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Donald Thomas. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?
Do you believe?
My wife came in here and started grabbing stuff out of a bag. And I was like, you got to go away.
I probably get like distracted. Hold on, my mom just called me. Let me tell her I'm doing my.
All right, go ahead and do whatever you need to do for a minute or two, and we'll get the next one going.
Watch how excited she's gonna be. She just called me, and then she's like, "I didn't hear my phone ring. Call me back." What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm doing my podcast right now. That's why I didn't answer the phone.
Okay. Mom called. She missed your call.
No, yeah, I was calling her to let her know. I was like, I called her while I was in Target to let her know I was like shopping, getting the kids stuff because I know she's been bothering me about that.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to talk to you, but she went downstairs.
It's all good. I got to finish up here. I just call in between the recordings.
Okay. You get those two things for me?
No, I didn't. I'm not gonna forget. I just been so busy today with getting caught up. I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Okay,
So I gotta go to I gotta go over to Dick's. I'll go over tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I thought I was gonna have to leave tomorrow. I gotta leave Thursday. So
okay.
I'll get them. No, I'll get them tomorrow, and I'll get them signed and all that.
All right.
All right.
Well, I'll just tell you call, and we'll talk to you later on, maybe tonight.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Yep. All right.
Bye.
All right. So this is for Texans and Colts preview.
Texans, Colts. Yep.
All right.
I better bring up the Texans depth chart. I want to talk about that. Oh, they got all kind of people hurt right now. Oh my goodness, they got all kind of people hurt right now. Holy cow. All right. Let me know when you are ready.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up too.
They got a starting defensive tackle and defensive end.
Well, Sheldon played in the game. He just probably I didn't see him go out. He actually picked up and scored that touchdown.
Yeah, Rankins is not listed as hurt.
They have him as questionable.
Well, he's not on my thing. He's not listed as hurt. Malik Collins is listed as hurt. Jonathan Greenard is listed as hurt. Laramie Tunzel, Robert Woods, and Noah Brown.
Which one are you on?
I'm on our lads depth chart. I always go to our lads, but let me look at Houston. Texans injury report. They don't have anything yet for this upcoming game. Try Colts. Maybe it's listed there because they should have practiced today, being it's a Saturday game.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Nope, not listed. Maybe on Twitter. Yep, there's practice report for the Colts. Got that up. And Houston Texans. And there's the injury report for them. All right. Will Anderson did not because of an ankle. That's huge. Andrew Beck, their fullback, Noah Brown, Malik Collins, Jonathan Greenard, Sheldon Rankins did not practice due to the ankle. Laramie Tunzel.
I feel like he's been hurt all year, right?
Huh?
Hasn't he been hurt all year, Laramie Tunzel?
Uh-huh. And then Robert Woods, which is, the deep threat. Well, Malik Collins, or not Malik Collins. Nico Collins. Nico Collins is the guy that they've been kind of leaning on for their deep threat lately. So he's really stepped it up this year at wide receiver. But they're all kind of hurt at receiver and stuff. The only thing good for them that they've got back now is C.J. Stroud's back, so that's big for them. They got a lot of injuries though. Colts. Kelly did not practice with an ankle. He'll play though. The nickel did not practice. Kenny Moore was back at limited practice, which is good. Quentin Nelson with an ankle did not practice. He'll play though, I'll guarantee it. Moss with a limited practice. Braden Smith with a limited practice. And that's it. Everybody else was full. Even though they're listed with injuries, they still full practice. So that's good. Are we ready?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. At 41 minutes. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy. Bam. Bam. Donald Thomas. What's going on, Donald? Man, this week is a huge, huge game for multiple reasons. Obviously, it's pre-wild card playoff game is what this is, right? This is win and you're in, lose, you're probably packing up and going home, right? And what is your initial thoughts about this upcoming game where the Indianapolis Colts will be hosting the Houston Texans?
Biggest game of the year. When you look at it from a standpoint of this is everything, comes down to win or go home. And so this is like the perfect storm created around this game for this to be the final game of the year. Divisional opponent, same record, same consequence, everything's the same at stake. And it's just a showdown, man. It's just going to be a showdown. It's going to go down. It's going to be a very physical game. And I think it might go down to the wire, being that it is a divisional game. It just makes it that much more physical and gritty. And just, I don't see it being a runaway game. I think this thing is going to be a freaking slugfest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to absolutely be a slugfest. We got a bunch of guys on the injury report right now from both teams, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that BetOnline is still your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NFL, NBA, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today. Get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we was kind of going over a little bit of the practice injury reports earlier in Houston. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness they have CJ Stroud back. All right. Because wow. Talk about their list of guys. Granted, it is a walkthrough, but they, it was a walkthrough today because we are recording on a Tuesday. But it's an estimation of what their participation would be for both these teams. And Will Anderson did not practice with an ankle. Beck did not practice with a calf. Noah Brown, their wide receiver, he didn't practice. Malik Collins, not practicing. Jonathan Greenard, not practicing. Sheldon Rankins, not practicing. Laramie Tunzel, not practicing. Robert Woods, not practicing. That entire Houston's team, like a third of their starters are not practicing. Now, I get, normally a lot of you are like, oh, well, that's just, it's Tuesday, a lot of rest, dealing with bang-ups and injuries and things like that. But you got to also remember that a lot of these guys are really actually hurt, that they've missed games like Tunzel and Greenard and Woods, So we'll see how it folds out. But, it's not great for the Texans. When you see a practice report like that, an injury report, what goes through your mind?
I take it with a grain of salt. A lot of things are are done to throw the other team off when you look at injury reports. So that's one, right? Two, this late in the season, there's not going to be one guy that doesn't feel something. And so if he's a veteran guy or if he's a guy that's of high value, he ain't playing or he ain't practicing 2 days after a game. So, that's number two. Three, you just have to understand that probably is not going to be the same case come Friday or, when you got to give that final injury report in. So this early after a game, you can't look too much into that. But at the same time, I do understand that there are guys that are banged up and probably will not play out of that list that you just named, and that is going to be a big plus for the Colts moving forward into this game. But I can rest you assured that they're going to have that list is going to shrink come closer to game time.
Well, it is a good possibility that it will shrink, obviously. Just like the Indianapolis Colts one. They didn't have as many people not on the not practicing side. But Kelly, Lamons, Nelson, they were the only ones that did not practice, all with ankle injuries. Good to see Kenny Moore back at a limited practice. Braden Smith at a limited practice because of his knee injury that he's been dealing with, this entire time. And Tyquan Lewis, most of these guys have injuries, but they're still listed as full practices, even though they have injuries, right? So I feel like the Colts are getting a little bit healthier as the season, is ending. And it's very important to get healthier, right? When you're coming up to, as you said earlier, the most important game of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all hands on deck. And if you watch our previous episode that we just did on the recap of the game, you see guys like Braden Smith who come back and fight through injury and leave it all out there on the field, just have a fighting chance to get into the playoffs. And so these guys understand that. The front office understands that. Coaching staff understands that. And if you can make an impact on this game, now you can't be out there and be a liability. Like, there's a difference, right? If you're going to come out there and you're going to be a step slower because you don't have like that extra oomph in your step, or if you're going to be tentative and not hit, or you can't block somebody because you're banged up, catch the ball, whatever it is, you don't need to be out there. But if you can be out there and give me, if you say, Coach, I'm 80%, and I can give you 100% of my 80%, I need you out there because your 80% is better than 99.999% of the world when it comes to playing this football game. And so, all hands are going to be on deck for this game. You better believe it. That's why I said injury reports will shrink come game time for both teams because guys are going to get out there and get active.
Yeah. So this is completely two different teams than what that faced off each other week 2 of this year, where the Indianapolis Colts beat the Houston Texans 31-20, and it was a pretty dominating performance. But was it really? Because it was one of those performances where the Colts have had like 4 of these this year, where they got outgained dramatically in yardage, where the other team had more first downs, had more time of possession, all of that, and yet still fell where the Colts ended up on the positive end of the WL slot, right? Even though they were outgained and everything. CJ Stroud, that was his first game that he just blew up 300 and some yards and touchdowns and all that. And Stroud's been just consistently since then playing very, very good football. But he's missing a lot of pieces that he had earlier in the year. His rookie wide receiver is no longer there. He's on IR for the rest of the year, right? You got Robert Woods has been banged up, right? You got Noah Brown that's banged up. And this is a situation where it's all, to me, it feels like this game is heavily on the shoulders of that rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans for that team.
But if you look at it from a standpoint of when has it not been heavily on his shoulders all year, right? Like, they wouldn't be in the position that they are right now if they didn't have good quarterback play or decent quarterback play. And so, like, I want this episode to be just completely neutral so that we all can go into this week with a clear mindset, right? And so, like, I'm going to start off by saying, like, CJ Stroud impressed a lot of people because you don't know what you're going to get out of a rookie quarterback. Yeah, he blew up against us that game, and he kind of hasn't looked back since in a sense of, like, okay, we know he can play in the NFL. And we could talk about the injuries to the receiving core, but they've still been, stacking up wins, and they're still in the same position that the Colts are in.
Exactly.
It's going to come down to the better quarterback play at the end of the day. What offensive line is going to come into play and show up, and who's going to be able to run the ball consistently when we're looking at the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, man, there's just two different styles of defense here, right? And so there's a sit-back zone kind of concept that Gus Bradley has and let your front four rush. And then Houston's got guys to kind of pin their ears back, and they're gonna blitz some linebackers. They're gonna throw a lot of line stunts up front to get our offensive line to kind of move around and have to be able to pass twists off and stuff like that. And so, it really comes down to turnovers on the offensive side of the ball. Like we said, Minshew's been 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions the past few weeks. So we're going to need that to be another consistent on his resume to be safe with the football. And then we also just need to confuse. See, that's one thing about sitting back, and it's not a knock to Gus Bradley because he knows what he's doing. But when you have a rookie quarterback, sometimes sitting back in the zone is a lot easier for him to read and try to pick apart and find the hole in the zone than it is to confuse him with exotic looks and blitzes and stuff like that, right? And so, like, you let a guy like that sit, but there's a positive to it too, because he can't really take off and run like how he wants to run when you're in zone, because you got guys sitting in zones around the field as opposed to man coverage where you can run everybody off and just drop back and take off. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's one mastermind against another. When you look at the head coaches, when you look at D'Amico Ryans, he's defensive guy. He's going to have some stuff cooked up. You look at Shane, and Shane's going to have some offensive stuff cooked up. And it's really going to come down to who can out-coach and outthink each other throughout this week, right? And this is why you made your hire in Houston. It's why you made your hire in Indianapolis, so that you can have a coach that can scheme and out-scheme the other team. And this is going to be a game where I guarantee you, man, these head coaches will be up past midnight all the rest of this week and putting in new stuff. We got to stop putting in new stuff come Thursday, because you don't have you just have to let the guys play. But there are going to be a couple of new wrinkles that the Colts have never seen, and a couple of wrinkles that Houston's never seen come this game, because this is the game where you pull them out at. Like, this is when the annexation of Puerto Rico comes into play. If we're all little Giants fans, for those that are younger than, if you grew up or was born past 95, you probably don't know. But the annexation of Puerto Rico was that final trick play that the little Giants ran to beat the Cowboys. And so it's going to have something like that where, man, it's going to come down to a fake punt. Don't be surprised to see a fake punt in this game, or a fake field goal or something like that, right? Because this is just one of those games you got to pull out all the stops.
I don't think the Colts have had a fake punt this year. They just straight went for it, without, trying to fake anything. But look, Houston's front four, it reminds me a lot of the Colts when it comes to just how effective they are, right? I mean, they got 4 guys. Now, granted, like I said, Jonathan Greener did not play last week due to injury, and he is the dude over there, 12.5 sacks on the season, right? But Will Anderson, the rookie's got 7 sacks. Sheldon Rankins got 6 sacks. Malik Collins got 5 sacks. Now, a couple of those guys, like I said, not practicing, but it's going to be a very, very huge task on, like you said earlier, which offensive line is going to win out against the defensive line, in my opinion, and hold off on, the blitzes and different packages and stuff of that nature, because no matter who's sitting back at quarterback, whether it is a young rookie Stroud or a wily vet like, Gardner Minshew, pressure changes games, period. And you got to be able to let your quarterback have those 2.5, 3 seconds, during a game in order to be able to, look around and feel comfortable in that pocket. Don't let him feel hurried all the time, no matter who is back there. So it's again, to me, it feels like it's going to be a trenches game. And I think it's going to have a lot, not just on special teams like what you're talking about. I think you're going to see some weird defensive looks, right? To try to confuse offensive plays where you're going to, try to hide maybe a cover zero, right? Or something of that nature where you might have an outside corner blitz, right? And, where the free safety might take over, his position and, move some guys around, things of that stuff you don't see a lot, especially maybe not so much with the Colts, but with this Houston team. D'Amico Ryans, he's known for, like what you said, bringing up some pretty wild looking blitz schemes, and the Colts got to be ready for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is one of those times where, if you can think it and draw it up and you've seen them run it before, you better be practicing it. And this is for both teams, right? So, you're going to see some crazy exotic stuff, and that's only to confuse it. It might just be a base defense that they're running, but they make it look crazy before the snap, and then everyone kind of falls back into place. You see that a lot, man. You see, like when I was playing, like we called it magic, but it was when all the defensive linemen, they were just walking around, literally just walking around. The defensive tackle will be outside of the offensive tackle, and defensive end will be, act like he's about to, run in there, and then they're all just moving around. And before the snap of the ball, then they all hit their right spots. And they hit it, right? So you have to decipher who's down, who's up, who's a linebacker, who's not coming. All right, those 4 are down. We know those 4 are down. So no matter what, we're blocking those 4 first. So we're just declaring who the mic is. And then we just kind of like, what I'm saying, make our line calls and go about it that way. So you're going to see crazy stuff, man. You're going to see something that you haven't seen before. And just all it is like, don't try to do too much. Play within yourselves, play for each other, and just understand what the game plan is and trust in your techniques and fundamentals. And it just comes down to football one-on-one after that. There's going to be nothing that there might be something that you've never seen before, but at the end of the day, if you apply your blocking rules to it, you will be fine, right? You have to be able, that's where the smarts come in, and be able to, be able to decipher something that fast is what makes you an elite player.
This is a game I feel like, we talked about, where defensively for the Texans, he's going to bring out some things. Shane Steichen, don't hold back this game, right? You got some plays that you ain't played yet this year. I'm sure you do. When it comes into situations, bring them out, right? Use them, because this is a game. It's all or nothing. And look, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I want to be shocked. I want to be like, well, that's something I ain't seen before. That's what I got used to seeing that in the first half of the season with Shane Steichen on his plays. I was like, well, that was neat. I like that. That same formation on that RPO, and you got 4 different freaking things you could do out of that formation with the exact same look. That's pretty dang on awesome. I want to see some stuff like that, because to me, I think that kind of stuff where, you got the same exact formation, same movement, same motion, everything, but you can do 4 different things with that same thing, and let the quarterback decide, what's happening right there, from looking over the defense and going, well, we're going to run it now, or we're going to pull it and have him run it, or I'm going to run it, or I'm going to throw it, or whatnot. That's some stuff I'd like to see. Keep the defense guessing, make them commit to something, and, you can then play off of that commitment.
Yeah. I mean, they gotta, this is, I'm telling you right now, this is the game that these coaches are going to be up all night, and and it's going to come down to them getting their players to believe, right? Like them understanding it. And honestly, Houston's in a tougher spot. Like, let's be clear. Houston's in a way tougher spot to get that message conveyed to the players by the head coach just because of the youth, the inexperience, especially at quarterback, right? Like, this is something where this moment could be too big for CJ. It just might just be too big for him. Or he could become a man overnight and rise to the occasion. But we don't know until Saturday at 8 o'clock. So this is going to be interesting to see because the message has to get conveyed to the players. It's all or nothing. And they know it, right? So who has the locker room won over the best? Excuse me. I don't know. Is it Houston or is it Indy? And like I say that because when I go back to this all the time, but we were in that little playoff race, we had checked out as a team. As much as the coaches stayed up, stayed after, stayed late, came in early, beat it into our heads about winning, and we went out, we go to playoffs, yada, yada, yada. It didn't matter. We were checked out. So who has the locker room? Shane or D'Amico? Right? Who's got the locker room? It's a tougher sell for Houston because now we got to fly all the way up to Indy. I got my rookie quarterback coming off of a concussion. I got some guys that are banged up. I don't know if everyone is bought in or believes in this situation. And the Colts are like, yeah, come on. We play well at home. We do, we play well at home. We're on a little roll. We had a great win last week, right? Like, we understand. Like, I read Jonathan Taylor's post-game interview, and he was talking about how guys understood the severity of the situation. So they're starting to understand what's going on and what needs to be done, right? So they both believe in what needs to get done. It's just now comes down to who's going to play for each other and who's all bought into the coaching staff.
Oh, this is a huge, monstrous game. I mean, prime time, Saturday night football, right? I mean, this is huge. And here's the deal. You talk about how it's a little tougher for the Texans. Home field advantage is important. And this is a prime time game. You're going to have the entire nation watching, and you're going to be sitting in Lucas Oil Stadium in a very ruckus crowd for a fan base that knows what's on the line. Been wanting to get back to the playoffs this whole time. It's going to be incredibly loud. You talk about how, it's an uphill battle for the Texans. They got to deal with crowd noise. And that is a real thing in certain stadiums. In Indianapolis, Peyton Manning has trained the Indianapolis Colts fans on when to be dead silent on offense. And then when the defense is out there for the Colts, to be incredibly loud to try to make it difficult for the quarterback to, make his motions and different stuff of that nature at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be important. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're going to be at the game, be as loud as you can, especially on third down.
I guarantee you that Houston's going to be pumping in some crowd noise at practice. I guarantee that they went out and got some super big speakers, and they are blasting the music. They are blasting artificial crowd noise in there all practice, all week, so they can get used to just for it to be chaotic a little bit. I guarantee the coaches are probably going to make things a little bit more difficult. They probably won't have pads on, so it's going to be flying around week at practice for both teams. And it's really just going to come down to, who's going to be more of a veteran, who has more leadership on the team, who's going to have guys dialed in and locked in. But yeah, man, they're going on the road. They have everything stacked against them for this game, everything. And the Colts, if they take advantage of it, they can take advantage of those disadvantages that Houston has, right? And so, like I said, we can throw all this talk out the window because, once again, this is a divisional game. And anything goes in a divisional game. And it could be a team they could be 0-15, 0-16 at the end of the season, and it's a divisional game, and they're going to fight like hell, just like last year when the Colts packed it up when they went down to Jacksonville. So anything can happen in this game. They just have to come out and play like they played in all the times that they've gotten wins this year and forget about the losses, but they have to learn from those losses to not make those same mistakes. For them to be able to win this game, right? And so getting after the quarterback, confusing him, having guys really dialed in the back in the backfield for us, right? So because we need a solid running game in this game. We need a solid running game. I see the frustration, but we really need it, man. This is a crucial time to take the pressure off of Minshew, so we're not forcing him to have to constantly throw the football, because at the end of the day, as well as he's played these last few weeks, there's still a little bit of holding your breath a little bit, right? And no one can tell me that they're just fully confident in everything he's been doing. So they have to come out and play well, man.
Yeah, see that I had that look in my face for a reason. They got a really good run defense, the Texans do. They only allow 3.3 yards a carry. I mean, that's outstanding in the NFL, right? And you talk about how you need to run the ball. That's so important for the Indianapolis Colts, just for everything that the Indianapolis Colts does. Get the passing game going, help protect Minshew, eat clock, control the game, things of that nature. But the thing that I'm worried about is something that I've noticed from Steichen. If you're not getting 4, 5, 6, 7 yards a carry every time you carry the ball, Steichen seems to kind of pull away from the run game a bit. I've noticed that. And in my opinion, if you just get 3 yards in the first quarter, per carry, at least you're getting some positive yards, and you're forcing the defense to respect the run game every time you line up for a play action or RPO or something. It may not be there early, but the more you do it, the more likely it's going to be there later on in the second half of the game. And I hope that I'm not saying it will, but if the run game is not really super effective in the first half, Shane Steichen doesn't just completely go away from it,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't go away from it, but also we have to see what the score is too, right? And so,
well, I mean,
yeah, but I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. Like if it ain't big time runs, he's like, all right, I'm just gonna throw the football, and we don't revisit the run game, and so I can see the frustration in that. But here's the deal, like, hopefully it comes down to us just having to eat clock and just run the football, pound it out, as opposed to, not having the success that he feels we should have in the run game. Then you should start throwing the ball for the rest of the game. And now we throw a pick because of it, or we get somebody banged up, or at it, so I'm with you, man. This game is going to come down to the wire. Point blank, period. I don't see it being a blowout. If this is a blowout, I'll be highly shocked. I would really be shocked that either one of these teams didn't show up. And so this is a game where these are the games that you want to play for, like playing as a player. Like, these are the games that you're juiced up for, man. Like, this is the game where, like, I'm probably going to get home right about now, and I'm cracking the iPad open. I'm still watching film. Like, I'm hungry. I want this win because, hell, this is to get into the playoffs, and we'll just see what happens after that. But let's just get in first, right? So this is one of those games where, man, this makes me want to suit it back up, but I know good and well my body will fall apart.
Absolutely. So it's time to get into the game's predictions. Donald, who you got winning and why?
Well, I have the Colts winning this one. I got them winning by a field goal. I'm going to say 3 points or less, to be honest with you. But I laid it out of why. Inexperience, travel, away game, just lack of leadership. But on the other hand, the Texans do have a players coach that they're all playing for, a guy that knows how to get these guys riled up, and you have a firecracker and a young quarterback that can create a spark. I just don't know if it's time yet for him to be the guy. I think they're building a solid foundation, but I think this is where it stops at in Indianapolis on Saturday night.
I got the Indianapolis Colts winning. I got it kind of similar kind of feel to how the Raiders game was for the Colts, where it's going to feel like the game is a lot further away than what the score actually is, because I feel like the Colts are going to move the ball between the 20s, but then settle for a lot of field goals, and that's going to be a problem. Got the Colts winning 23-17. All right. So think about 23. That's a lot of field goals. All right. To get to that number under normal circumstances, that's 2 touchdowns and then 3 field goals. So, or 4, three field goals.
Yeah, three.
Yeah.
9 plus 4.
But when you got a guy like Matt Gay, you can rest comfortable every time you come to a situation where it's 4th and 4, right? Or something of that nature. Let him go out there and put points on the board, right? That's how I see it. It's all about taking points where you can get them, because at this point you need to take the points when you can get them, right? Obviously, unless you're down 3 scores or something. But this is a game where I feel like it's going to be kind of back and forth, like you're talking about, where, the Colts might get outgained offensively in this game, but I feel like the Colts will score when it matters. When they get to the other side of the field, they'll get far enough to where if they're not get in the end zone, they'll at least get points on a touchdown or something. So, or on a field goal. So, yeah, this is one of those games where they could get beat, like I said, on all the important stats except for the final score.
Right. Yep. I'm with you 100%, man. You're right on that. So, we'll see. I think the Colts have the edge here, but like I said, this is a divisional game. Anything can happen. Obviously you want to see the Colts make the playoffs, and get back in. It's been a few years, and so hopefully they can, right the ship, and it starts, Saturday night.
Absolutely. Can't wait to watch the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video. And if you're listening to this on any platform for audio podcasts, make sure you leave a review and share this to your favorite social media. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That was Donald Thomas. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Go Colts, baby.
Do you believe?